We're here. We're here. Patrick Rooney, oldschoolus.com, and coming at you old school live. Love to do old school live. We had a really fun week last time. I was going at it, and it was like a pie throwing contest with my friend Robert Campbell, and we were going at it pretty hard. And look at that show if you'd like to, but just be patient because we had a problem with my feed, and every time I was going at it, all of a sudden it would stop and freeze me and put me in a weird face, for 10 seconds or whatever. But hopefully we've kind of stripped that back and starting fresh. So hopefully tonight everything will hold up for us. We have a special show, and it's titled, Can Republicans Win in Today's Culture? Now, I know we got a lot going on out there, and it's like, you might be thinking, who cares if Republicans win? I hate Republicans. You may be a Republican who also hates Republicans. I get that. But frankly, I think it's very important in this day and age that if we're going to have elections, and God willing, we'll have one in 2024, we'll still be here. We have to pray for that. But God willing, we'll still have that. And if we do, it's going to be, in my opinion, very important that Republicans actually win, because as bad as the Republican Party is in a lot of ways, it's the only game in town right now. The Democrats are so out of control as to be, they're just off the reservation. So anyway, I've got Brian Pombo here, and I'm going to bring Brian on in a minute. He is with the my notes are failing me. Well, he'll tell you when he gets back. boldactionnetwork.com. He's also head of the Conservative Action Forum in Grants Pass, Oregon. And here is Brian. Welcome, Brian.
Hi, Patrick. Good to be here.
Great to have you again. I'm also bringing on a special guest I didn't tell you guys about, but he's from Gen Z. And we're going to say, how do the Republicans win in today's culture? Or should I say, how can the right Republicans win? We don't want rhinos in there. And we have a special guest who is representing, in some way or another, Gen Z, and that is Paul.
Hey, it's good to be back.
Paul hasn't been here for a long time. I feel myself echoing, but I guess I'll have to live with that. Paul, your camera's going up and down. Are you jumping? Are you doing some jumping?
No, I'm just I'm just fixing it.
Like getting the blood going for the show. Anyway, welcome, Paul. Okay. Welcome, Paul. You're going to talk about. Paul's going to talk about whatever, but primarily, I think you're interested in the Gen Z stuff, and maybe you can explain Generation Z to me a little bit as we go on. Brian has a lot of experience in politics. Brian, can you talk about a little bit of your background in politics, so people know?
Sure. I kind of grew up in it. It first started in, probably around 1990 when my uncle ran for city council. And
dating yourself there.
Yeah. Even a little earlier than that, I was interested. So my grandma always had talk radio going 24/7 in the kitchen at her home. And so I would go by there and something would be coming up and she'd yell at the radio about this or that. And this is the early days of just previous to when conservatives started taking over talk radio. So this is when Rush Limbaugh
started 87, I think.
Around before he went national. So he was in the Sacramento station KFDK, and we lived near there. So we got that station in pretty clearly. So we were listening to him back then, and then he went national, and it kind of blew up from there. So I was watching and kind of participating in all that. I remember very clearly the 88 election, the presidential election, and everything from that point forward has been more and more clear. Because I've learned more and more through the years. So since I was a kid, I've been involved. I helped get my uncle elected to city council, and then I helped him get elected to Congress in 92. Got to see the Republican Revolution in 94 and all this other crazy stuff. I mean, I've been through it all, and I've kind of studied not just the specifics of how you win campaigns, but also the philosophy of conservatism and where it comes from, and what's right and what's wrong, and why we need to stick with what's right.
Yeah.
And so so that's kind of a little bit of my background.
Okay. You said you studied it?
Oh yeah, it's been a lifetime of study. It's just something I've always been interested in.
And as far as how do you do that as far as the ethics of it and right and wrong? You mean internal ethics, a Bible or other books, or how do you do that?
Yeah, all of that going all the way back. So it's like really coming down to, why do we have government? That's really what the argument is between both sides and we rarely get down to the brass tacks is, what's the point of the whole thing? Yeah. And in America, it comes back to the principles in the Declaration of Independence.
Right.
And if you can wrap your mind around that, you can see every other viewpoint that a modern day conservative would have stems from those ideas.
From that document. I remember when Alan Keyes was coming up, about 96. I actually was up in Grants Pass for a while. He did a speech up there, and I helped him behind the scenes with that speech. And I think it was Grants Pass High School he spoke at. But he used to talk a lot about the Declaration of Independence being the founding, the primary document that kind of animated him, other than God, obviously.
He did a lot during that campaign. I was the California youth coordinator for
Alan Keyes
in 96. So I know all about that.
I was really into Alan Keyes. He came out like gangbusters.
He did. That was an amazing year.
It was.
A lot of people running, a lot of great discussions, and Alan really got a lot of people into thinking about it the right way.
Yeah. Pat Buchanan was running that year too.
That's right.
And anyway, I'm hearing myself back, so I don't know if that's
maybe if you mute yourself, Paul, when you're not talking, that might
help.
You guys are the same.
Here,
because it's coming through. There you go.
Oh, good. Better. Thank you, Brian. You got that know-how. Brian does a lot of video. He does like daily videos, so he has a lot of experience with that. We're going to talk about a number of things here. How can Republicans win in today's culture? I kind of purposely didn't lead with cheating. Can I say the word cheating? I'll see how long I can last on this platform. I don't know how long it's going to be, but I don't want to feel like I'm totally constrained either. I can talk a little code if I have to, but I don't want to feel like I'm bound and gagged either when we're trying to talk. I didn't talk about cheating so much. Brian here says Republicans can't win if the system is rigged. I agree with that, and I do want to talk about that. On the other hand, I don't want to keep it at that, because there's a lot of things. The rigging is an important thing, but I think it can also be a way to not look at anything else that needs to be discussed. So one of the reasons I have you on, Paul, is because I just lost Paul. As soon as there he goes.
No, I was just fixing it.
Okay, one of the reasons I have you on is because, from what I understand, Gen Z, which is, I think, what is that? I don't know when it starts and ends. Starts around you're born in the mid 90s, I think, to like
depends
2010 or something.
Who's measuring it? That could be that. I heard a really good lineup for that. They said that if you remember 9/11, you're millennial. If you don't remember 9/11, you're Gen Z.
Okay. Yeah, and you don't really remember 9/11, Paul, because that's
I wasn't
around
born
when you were born, right?
A week after.
Yeah, you were. He was born just after 9/11. But Gen Z is the Democrats wiped the Republicans out as far as Gen Z is concerned. I think that they won by they voted, according to exit polling, Gen Z voted like 58% or something like that to 32 or something like that. I don't know if that adds up right, but they voted for Democrats in huge numbers. And we can talk about unmarried women as well, single women, whatever you want to call an unmarried woman. They vote for Democrats in big numbers. So I guess we can start with that. Yes, we're all concerned about cheating. Do you want to, maybe we can start off with the cheating question, since it's kind of like the elephant in the room. It's no pun intended for Republicans, but the elephant in the room is cheating, because we have to get, if we don't get the cheating fixed, the rest of this kind of doesn't matter. So where do you come in on the cheating, and where do you think it needs to be dealt with, or what do you think can be done about it, Brian?
We can spend the whole time talking about it, but I'll give you a synopsis. For one thing, I think we got to be careful about where we put the lines. This concept of we can't win is a concept that we got to be really careful about.
Yeah, I agree.
Tossing that around. I know it's true that it makes it more difficult to win, but they are not cheating to the point to where it can't be overcome.
Hopefully.
Well, either way, if you can get enough of your people out, our votes still count to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be tracked. A lot of this stuff can be tracked. It can be tracked down straight to the precinct. So we can go through precinct by precinct and call people up and see if they voted or not, and see if it matches the voting. This stuff isn't, it's not impossible to track. We can figure this stuff out, and we can stop a lot of the cheating that's going on. There is cheating going on. There has been cheating going on before this. There's been cheating going on as long as I've been involved with poll watching and so forth, which has been years. They've been pushing out different parties out of the registrar's office and county clerk offices. They've been doing that for years. I was in California. I've mentioned it before. I was in California back in I don't know. This was a good 20 years ago, I believe. And we were pushed out of the Alameda county headquarters. They would not even let us in and this was during when they were counting ballots after the fact. So this is when they're trying to figure out some of the statewide races, and they're looking at the contested ballots. They wouldn't let us in there at all. We couldn't go in. So it's like, sue us.
Yeah,
is all they could do. And you're going to have that situation. That's where most of the cheating is probably happening, is in these counties that are so blue,
right,
that they're pushing it to being a court battle, which we have to take on eventually. But that aside, the cheating is happening. You got to do all the footwork on the other end to make it to where the cheating's more difficult for them. If there are enough votes on our end, they can't cheat their way out of it. And it's split up. This is county by county. They don't run every county.
Yeah, they don't.
You have the ability to get into your county, and you need to find out how to get in there, how to watch the polls, how to make it cleaner, how to make it more transparent. These are the things we have to be pushing. Take care of everything we have the ability to have control over, and then go from there and start taking over enemy territory as much as we can.
Right.
Just like anything.
Right, I agree. But keep in mind, in your state, you're in Oregon, Salem and Portland, in those counties, Multnomah, Portland, and whatever Salem is. These are huge. It's like every state. You look at any state, you look at even California, and it's mostly red.
Yeah.
Right. But LA and San Francisco are very blue. You go to New York State, New York City is very blue. You go to Pennsylvania, Philadelphia is very blue. These are huge numbers. So I agree with you on one hand. Yes, we can fix what we can in our area, but is it still enough to overcome a huge blue area or huge blue areas in a state?
It has to be. I mean, there's two things that have to happen. It's like you said, it's like two ends of the snake.
Yeah.
You got to hit it from both angles. And on one end, we've got to stop the cheating. So that's got to come this direction. On the other direction, we have to start doing everything we can to convince people otherwise from the other direction to start voting differently. You do that by discouraging liberal voters, by encouraging conservative voters, by splitting their vote every time you can, which they don't talk about very often. But if you split
our vote every time.
That's right. And you could find a way. There's ways to split their vote. The reason why Oregon got so close to electing a Republican this time is because there were 3 people running, and that third person was not selling themselves as a liberal. So imagine if you had a liberal running, a person that was more left wing or a Green Party person or something of that running, you split their vote, all of a sudden you're able to get in. You have to be willing to take whatever steps necessary to get the right people in office, to clean things up long term, and to over the long run convince more people that ours is the right way.
I agree. Democrats are a lot smarter at playing the game, though. They rarely, from what I see, they rarely split their own vote. And what do you mean by splitting a vote? Let's be real simple. You have two people, going for one. The more people you have on your side trying to kind of, or let's say you have a general election, okay, that anybody can go. Splitting the vote would be like you have a Republican, a Democrat, and then maybe you have some independent who's either to the left, so he splits Democrat votes, or he's to the right, so he splits Republican votes, or he or she. And I rarely see Democrats make the mistake of splitting their own vote. I don't see it too often, but I see the problem I see, and I'm on a soapbox about this. I know I mentioned it before, but the problem I see with Republicans is somebody will join in saying, hey, I'm like the most conservative candidate or whatever, but they will get into a race and basically split off votes from somebody else. And I don't necessarily mean a pure rhino. I mean somebody who's pretty good, but they're not perfect. And somebody more perfect, quote unquote, may get in and pull votes away. And I'm thinking, Republicans don't really seem to get together before an election and kind of talk out strategy. Is that hard to do? Is that done?
It depends on the situation. It depends whether you're talking a primary or a general election, because you can have those type of situations in the general also, like I was talking about, or like a classic example in '92 when you had Clinton going against Bush Sr. and Ross Perot. All those people were going at the same time. Ross Perot was playing himself off as a conservative. He knew very well he couldn't win. He knew very well.
I don't agree with that. Wait. He was winning.
No, but in later interviews, he admitted he was not out to win the presidency.
But
he was out to pull down Bush, and it worked twice.
Okay, but remember, what I remember, Ross Perot had his polling was through the roof. And the only time his polling stopped, he went down, is because he had some incident with Bush and he looked like a kind of a crazy guy and he lost a lot of his people. Remember that?
Yes, that's true. But his polling never went over 25%. So he never had a chance at beating both guys. So you got to beat both sides.
Right.
He had no interest in doing that. His only interest, he admitted it years later, his only interest was taking out the Bushes. And it worked. It worked perfectly well, even with him jumping in and out of the race and everything else.
Yeah, it did.
And that's possible. Those are always possible situations and scenarios. You had a whole bunch of liberals that were funneling money to Ross Perot back then because they knew what could happen.
Yeah, and that same thing goes on today. Yeah. Before we get away from the cheating, because I know it's really important, would you at least say that the cheating is more prevalent today, or would you not?
It's easier. The cheating is easier now, so you have to assume that it's more prevalent.
Yeah.
Because the places that we're seeing the biggest anomalies in the difference between polling and the difference between the outcome, the places we're seeing that is the places where the Dems are in charge, where they're in control of the county clerk's office or whatever you call it in your state. Yeah. And they're the places that they have all these extra things that were added on over the last 4 years. So your mail-in ballots, all these little extra things, each one of those steps goes more and more to creating an atmosphere that allows cheating to exist. The less transparency, the more hands you have on the ballot, the fewer people that are watching, the more cheating is going to happen. It's a given.
For sure. And let's talk about something like I always think about, okay, when you're going to do something, find like the low-hanging fruit, find the thing that is most important in a certain way. I think a lot about mail-in ballots. To me, once COVID came around and they got us into this mail-in, you can't get near anybody. You're going to get COVID if you go to a polling station. So we got to mail in out all the stuff. It was obviously a ruse to cheat. I mean, that's what it was. And now that we don't have COVID, I guess they got something new going on now. Maybe they're going to use that again next time. But now that we don't really have that anymore, we still have mail-in ballots are so prevalent. And I'm wondering, you can weigh in on this, Brian, but what are the Republicans going to, I mean, what they should do, my opinion, is go after mail-in ballots and get rid of them wherever they can. And there may be places where they can't do it, but the places that they can't do it, should they, can't beat them, join them? In other words, hey, they're going to have mail-in ballots, so we have to learn how to win with mail-in ballots?
You've got to deal with whatever rules are on the ground when you're there. So it's two different mindsets. On one hand, yeah, you got to fix all that stuff. You got to get people into office that can watch over this stuff, open it up for everybody, invite the Dems in, invite the Republicans in, put cameras everywhere. Transparency is the key. As long as the secret ballot is still kept secret, then everything else needs to be transparent. You need to open up everything, allow anybody to come in and watch, bring the kids, it doesn't matter. What matters is transparency. And if they use that as a talking point and they say, what we're going to do is make it transparent and we're going to make it safe and secure. And we're going to do everything possible. And then that along with that comes the end of mail-in ballots and all these other stupid things that they've added over the years. You got to fix all that stuff and open it up. Then you were saying that,
but they don't seem to want to fix that. A lot of are they just rhinos? Are they afraid to engage? Why not? What's the problem?
They're more rhino. There's a difference between a person that is extremely liberal and is pushing the opposite end within the Republican Party and what most of these guys are. See, I've worked in Congress a little bit and I've gotten to know these guys, and what it is they're really more lazy. They go the easy route because they're trying to keep their job. It becomes a job. It's a security thing.
Yeah.
And they want to keep their job. They want to stay friends. They want to keep being invited to parties. It's just easier to do less. The whole system is built that way to make these guys lazy. And so they're not going to go out of their way to do this stuff unless they have a fire in them to get it done.
How do we get better candidates? Since you're talking about these guys are lazy and they seem like they just want money and power, how do we get people in there who actually care about the country?
Find the right people and run them until they win. So the problem is that most of us don't know the rules of how this stuff works, of the psychology of elections and so forth. And we all need to get involved. We all need to get in there and do something. And just a quick plug for my website, boldactionnetwork.com.
Yes.
That's one of the main focuses, is to get everybody, wherever you're at, whatever your interest level, whatever issue that you're most interested in, getting you plugged in and figuring out how to get what you want achieved. That's what the whole thing is about. That I want to spread these ideas. They're not difficult to comprehend, but they do take time to learn, and it takes a while to put this stuff together.
Well, so in a way, wouldn't you say even the people who call themselves patriotic are lazy in a lot of ways? Not everybody, but everybody has. Everybody has.
We all need to be doing more, but we're all distracted. We're overcome with economic issues, personal economic issues. We're overcome with all this other garbage out there. And along with everything, I mean, Fabian's mentioning out there that the spirituality issue. I mean, this is a spirituality issue, but the dark side takes advantage of creature comforts and the fact that it's just, these are not easy things to do. You are going against the grain on every level. It's not going to be the easiest thing to do. But we have to start moving in that direction. It's the only way out.
Right. Isn't it kind of an easy way out also to say the elections are fixed, therefore I'm not going to participate?
That it is.
Let me show you guys another way that I think is a way out here. I'm going to bring up Fabian's comment on here because this needs to be addressed too, because this is to me another way out.
Fabian out here, every time his comment gets up, it gets bashed. No,
sorry, I'm not trying to bash. I just want to bring it up. I don't agree with him necessarily, but I want to bring this up. I like to hear all points of view, especially Fabian's been a friend of mine for a long time, so I want to give him a shot as well. So Fabian says it's not getting fixed, guys. We're in the end time. Spiritual people see it. Get ready. I have my own thoughts about that. Do you have any thoughts about that, Brian, or Paul, for that matter? Go ahead.
Go, Paul.
Oh, you can go first.
Yeah, you don't have to. Yeah, I'm just saying if you guys have something.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, go ahead, Brian.
And I think we talked about this a little bit last time, and Fabian saying, that being saved is the way out, and then we can do what we can. I completely agree on that end of things. In terms of the end times, I believe we're in the end times because I think it's always the end times. If you think about it, we're closer to the end times now than we were an hour ago. I mean, one way or the other, if there are end times, we're in the end times to some extent. It may be in the next 100 years. It may be in the next 10 minutes. We're in the end times.
Well,
I'm okay with that concept. And I'm okay with the idea that the first goal for every human should be to get yourself right with the big guy.
Right.
That needs to be number one, the main thing. Politics, this is games down on the ground. We're just trying to keep freedom open, so that people have the ability to do that type of thing.
I don't know why they're mutually exclusive. In other words, I'm watching, as we talked about before the show, North Korea is testing missiles that they claim can get to the U.S. In response, the Biden administration is sending a number of aircraft to the area and so on and so forth. We see what's going on with Russia and Ukraine. We see what's going on with China and Taiwan. We see, we've heard people talk about Israel and latter days and all that. I don't have any doubt that World War III is basically coalescing together. Okay. And I don't doubt that once World War III gets nasty or whatever, there's probably going to be a point where Jesus is going to come down if it gets nasty enough, and whatever he's going to do, pluck out the people that believe and all that. That's great. Hopefully we're part of that, right? What are you waving for? Paul, you're waving? What? Hello?
And I was just adding in fact, Jesus coming down and slaying people.
Oh, okay. I thought you were waving me off like don't say that or something. I don't have any doubt about any of that stuff. I don't know why that is exclusive to us being here as salt and light and taking care of what we see. We're defending the widow and the orphan. We're defending freedom. We are, I don't know what the alternative. I don't get that. Like we're not supposed to worry about these kind of things because we're in the end times. I don't know why we can't have. It's not an either or thing. To me, they both are true.
And Fabian just came back and said that the thing we must not have faith in politics now, and I completely agree.
We're not talking about having faith in politics.
Yeah, politics is not the answer to anything. Politics is nothing more than a game of survival. We're just trying to extend things long enough so that we can continue with just enough freedom to do what we need to do while we're on Earth. There's three things I see it. That you got. I talk about the three-legged stool. You got political freedom, which we talk about the most when we're talking politics, economic freedom, and religious/spiritual freedom. You got to have all three to be truly free. And spiritual freedom is the most important one.
Yeah.
But you can't get to spiritual freedom. I mean, you can get to spiritual freedom under complete tyranny. You could be rotting in a jail cell somewhere and still achieve spiritual freedom.
Yes, you can.
But you're going to do the most for the most amount of people under a free society. And we got to do everything we can to work things that direction. Even if we're under tyranny tomorrow, if they declare martial law and all of our rights are out the window, you start with whatever you got. So it doesn't matter if everything's fixed in terms of the voting system, get it unfixed, move it the opposite direction. Wherever you're at, move the opposite way on the field. That's my perspective.
Yeah. And keep in mind, this show, I'm talking about many things on this show. I've talked about all sorts of different subjects, everything that we've mentioned. I've talked about end times. I've talked about spiritual freedom. all those things still apply. This show has a particular question about politics and the Republican Party as it is. Now, you're all free. Everybody on here is free. Anyone listening, anyone in chat is free to do what you want or think the way you want. But I see no reason to take the foot off the gas, doing all we can to physically get it. Like I've already, we were going to talk about, and maybe we can at least talk about this here for a minute. One of the reasons you're on, Brian, is because you are making a difference in the political world in Grants Pass, Oregon area, Southern Oregon. I've been helping out as I can. I wish I could do more with a group that we have that is trying to take the county back here, Santa Rosa County in Florida. And we got a couple of county commissioners in, and probably next election, we might get another one in, which would be a voting majority because there's only 5 of them. There's a lady here. We got onto the city council. You know how many votes she won by? 1 vote. She won by 1 vote, and they recounted and found out that she won by 1 vote again. And she's a really nice lady. I talked to her the other day. She's a decent person. So getting decent people into positions, all we're talking about, getting people into position. If you don't want to call it politics, call it something else. Getting decent people into positions of authority instead of having bad. I mean, why would you want like Gavin Newsom running your life if you could have Ron DeSantis your governor, right? I mean, it's kind of common sense. I don't know why I even have to say this stuff. Fabian, you're a smart guy. I'm surprised you don't see some of this stuff. All right. Anyway, Paul, just jump in if you want at any point. You don't have, I don't.
I just didn't really. I mean,
it's okay. You don't have to. I want to bring you in mostly about the Gen Z stuff, so we're going to get to that too. All right.
I'm just listening to you guys.
Yeah. Okay, it's cool. Okay. So how many share Be Still to help people get to the path? Hey, I share it sometimes. Be Still and Know.
That's what he was talking about.
Meditation. I mean, FHU.com. There's a 7-minute meditation there that's very, very important. I don't, to be honest though, I don't know that that's the silver bullet that helps every single person. I'm not going to say that's the only thing people can do. I'm sorry if that makes me a heretic. That's fine. But I think being still is very important, and there's ways to be still, and it's not exactly necessarily doing things exactly as laid out on the Be Still and Know tape. That's just my opinion. I'm one guy, and I'm not trying to pick a fight here or anything, but being still before God is really, really important. I don't think you have to necessarily do it in their way. Although I think that's a very good way. I don't think it's the only way. I don't know. Did you want to say something about that, Paul?
No, I was just going to say, I agree. Like, there's many ways. We have to be careful not to put ourselves like in a box of this is the one way we got to do it to get to connect with God and to just like, I know, like you said, the FHU, we tried it. I mean, it is good. It is good. But like I just want people to be aware, like that might work for you, and another way might work for another person. I know lots of people, like cousins and stuff, and they don't do it like that, but they have even better spiritual growth than I do, and I don't do it the same way they do. And I mean, so
okay, good
whatever
point.
Works for you.
There you go, Brian. Go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Go ahead.
I think it comes down to if you think that there is a single URL that you can pass out there, and if enough people go to this website, we can change the world, then spend all your time getting people to go there.
Mm-hmm.
But the tough thing is getting people to go. I mean, in any step in marketing, so I have a background in marketing and business strategy. In any step in marketing, the toughest thing is to get somebody to take the step that you want them to take. And that's if you have one step. Most of the time, there's many steps that they have to take in order to get there. What I found is that to get people to a place to where they can pray properly, meditate properly, do whatever, most of the time they're 100 steps behind that. And so everything that I've ever worked on when it comes to helping helping people along on any type of spiritual path has been one-on-one. It's just talking to people, giving a piece where I can help them, giving them advice, passing them along a URL or a video or whatever, and be able to help take them step by step, and always being a friend and having an open door. If there's a shortcut, hey, take it, get it out there, push it, get it out there. Go and raise money and run ads on Google. I mean, just do whatever you can to do it. But I haven't found the complete shortcut yet.
Yeah. And a lot of it is, they say in sales, you're selling yourself, right? If you have something that you believe in or something that works for you, people have to see that in you first. You know, if you say, go see this movie, go see this movie, or go do this, they kind of have to have some, you kind of have to win people over to some extent to do that. And that's kind of part of the thing too. And they have to not believe in you. We're talking about belief in God, but they kind of have to believe in you to some extent before they're going to listen to what you're saying as well. So that's something to consider as well.
And that's a matter. It's a matter of degrees too. So an example I had a friend who was suicidal. I wasn't suicidal. I was relatively happy and moving along with my life. It's not that I was walking on water. I wasn't. I had a million things I still had to conquer and still do, but I was that further ahead than he was. And if there is a path,
right?
I was a little bit beyond walking off the end of the cliff. So it didn't take much for me to be able to recommend some stuff to him.
Yeah.
And he claims that the stuff I recommended to him helped save his life and move him in a little further down the line. It doesn't take much. You do what you can with where you're at, and you help as many people as you can as best you can. But there's not one answer.
Yeah, I agree with you. Okay. This is another Brian who says, if it is the end times, then it's all the more reason to fight the system even harder to make it right. Fatalists are doomed to defeat. I agree with that. I mean, if you're going to tell everybody that we're in the end times, and yeah, you can try if you want, good for you, pat on the back, but you know what, this ain't going to work. That's not the leader I want at the front of the movement. You know, I mean, people are not going to follow somebody who says, yeah, you can try this, good old boy, go ahead, that a boy. But, really you're going to get blown up, and, you don't really have much of a chance there. So, don't bother. I mean, to me, I don't understand why we would even say that. I mean, to me, it's like, yeah, end times. Okay. And then let's maximize every situation we have. If we believe in meditation and prayer and being still, and we believe in God, it seems to me that we believe in the individual. That individual, we should be strong to start with. And as I talked about on other shows, that goes out to other people, right? You're working with your family. You're hoping to have a better relationship with them. That one's been a huge challenge for me over the last few months, since I've had to deal with a lot of things and come clean about a lot of stuff. I'm still working with my family, my son and my wife, on a day-to-day basis. We still work out stuff all the time. And they say it's not a bed of roses. But it's ourselves, it's our family, and then it goes out from there, right? It's our neighborhood, it's our city, our county, and it's our state and our country. So all that stuff is important, starting with the most important thing closest to you, and then kind of working your way out from there. Anyway, that's my little soapbox thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you can finish it. I was
done.
Okay. Yeah, and just I don't know if I don't know if you want to. When did you want to talk about?
Yeah, we're going to get into.
Real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to add and we can come back. I was just going to add real quick. And about what I see about, I guess, my generation.
That's what Gen I wanted to get into.
Yeah, about I'm kind of coming from, because I don't watch like TV, but I watch YouTube, and you can see a lot through YouTube, like people's perspective and stuff. So I'm seeing that I think my group is seeing like there's hostile, like they don't like the attitude from Trump's side of things, like the hot, like what he's saying, on Twitter and stuff like that. They just don't like he's like very aggressive. Cause like when we went to January 6th, we were in the subway. I was with my dad and my mom, and there were some bikers, and there's this I guess you'd call him liberal guy. He was on a bicycle, and this was during COVID, and he was wearing a mask. And these biker guys on the right, like they're like, toughless, sleeveless guys. And he was like, the biker is like, "Hey guys, wear a mask, please." And then the biker's like, "Stay in your lane, buddy." Like they're just like, I remember seeing like there's a Trump guy. There's like, I don't know, he was like in his mid-40s or something, and he had little kids by him. I remember he was just dropping like F-bombs at the biker guy, and I was thinking like, wow. I was like, even though we were on the right side, technically we're like still not acting right. And I think, I mean, I don't know how much the people will relate with the biker guy, but like I know a lot of people will see that and say like, "Hey, aren't these supposed to be like Trump guys?" And they see like our attitude. I'm not saying every Trumper is like that. I'm just saying that that's like we took on like some aggressiveness, because like Trump, I see him like he's not really for God. I hate to say that, but I mean, there was this interview with Trump, and he was with the My Pillow guy, Mike Lindell.
Mike Lindell, yeah.
Yeah, he was like, Mike Lindell asked him like, "So Trump, where do you get your strength from?" And he was kind of like, leading him on to say Jesus, and Trump, he ignored him each time and would like just talk his way through and just like say, "Well, I get my I forgot what he said, but each like Michael Dell would ask him like 3 times over the span of like, I don't know, 30 minutes or something. Each time Trump would just like he would just like ignore it. And I think that's a really like telltale sign. And I think people are seeing that, and we like, if we're on the right, we really gotta act right. Like, so like, even I know people on my side, they don't like Biden at all. You could just see a whole lot of videos that like explain it, but it's just something that they don't like. They just don't like Trump any better. I mean, well, they don't like him at all, and so they're willing to like live with Biden just to get at Trump. And so I think he kind of hurt the movement. I hate to say, I mean, he done a lot of great things, but I think now he's kind of hurt the movement, and I think someone better needs to step in. Unless he changed it, he could change, but I mean, I don't know. But I think someone better needs to step in, because he really is kind of hurting the cause right now. I hate to say it, but that's just what it looks like.
You're going to get incoming for that.
Sorry, I had to say it.
Okay. Very good points. We've talked about this kind of stuff as well. I've heard you say this before, and we've talked about things about that as well. We have to be, what has Gandhi said? Be the change that you want to see, kind of thing. It's not enough. It's not enough to be right technically, right? To have the right opinions, to have the right politics, so to speak. A lot of it is attitude. We were watching. I have some questions about Trump right now as well. The current Trump. I don't know what he's going to do. He just had a speech, and he now is in the election. He had a very subdued speech, said all the right things. So I hope that continues. But what was going on before the midterms was like, what do you call that? Face palm stuff.
Face palm.
Brian, did you want to say anything about that or not?
Sure. There's so much there. First off, with the Gen Zers.
Yeah.
The one thing I'd like to once again caution people on is to have some perspective on this. I haven't seen all the numbers, because all the numbers are not out yet. Like you said, there's exit poll numbers giving an idea of which way that Gen Zers were going. I would never expect them to not go that way. Traditionally, it's the age group. Traditionally, age groups vote a certain way. It's only odd when they don't vote that way. So for people Paul's age to vote that direction is completely 100% normal. That's how they always vote.
Yeah.
Now, if there were a whole lot more of them voting this time than at any time before, and I don't think there were, I think that's been expanded on completely. I think if we go over the numbers after it's all said and done, that won't be the case. If if it was the case, you got to dig in deeper and see whether that's part of the voting corruption that's going on.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make any sense. The idea that young people are going to go out there in droves and vote, other than we saw it really heavy with Obama, and that made sense just the first time. It made sense because he was MTV and everyone was making him kind of a rock star, and it worked. That there was a whole lot of that fervor going on.
Right.
This time around, there was no reason why a whole bunch of Gen Zers would be voting during a midterm election. So that part.
Well,
aside,
I think they were trying to say that there was a lot of them voting probably because they were pushing the abortion narrative. That
I think that's baloney. I don't think the average Gen Zer cares one way or the other. Not enough to go out of their way to vote. It's just not. I mean, I was talking to 30-year-olds and 40-year-olds that were like, yeah, and these are people that I consider very intelligent. They're like, yeah, my ballot's there. It's in the mail somewhere. It's too much hassle to dig it out. It's whatever. They're all the same. That type of attitude.
Yeah.
That is more common the younger a person is. It wasn't common for me, but I was an oddball. I was weird. And Paul's weird, but most people your age that's not where their mind's at right now. So that part aside, until we have the details, we can't really say one way or the other. In terms of Trump, there's two pieces here. Number one, whether he's right in his direction and how he talks to people and how the followers talk to people and so forth, whether that's being promoted properly. And you're completely right. It's never been promoted properly. It's more of the idea of disabling the other side versus trying to win converts. And I think we need to be doing both at the same time. I think you need to be aggressive and pushing hard on the other side while at the same time, and the person who did it great was Reagan, at the same time, bringing people over, causing people to question. All you got to do is get them to question the other side. You just got to get them to doubt it. You don't have to win them over completely. You just have to get them to doubt the other side, to consider your point of view.
That's right. We were watching. Oh, good. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
We were watching. I was watching this with Paul the other night. We were watching a tape on Reagan, a video about Reagan and what he did in power and so forth. And you were watching him, Paul, and you kind of noticed things about him, which I wasn't saying anything. I didn't want to say I've been a big Reagan fan probably forever. I mean, I love Reagan, and for a lot of reasons. But I didn't say anything to Paul about it. We were just watching it, and then you came back and said some things to me that I thought were. You remember some of that?
Yeah, I remember. When we watched the Reagan tape, I wasn't born. I mean, I was born. I was kind of around. I saw like Reagan's funeral thing, but like
which we went to, the service,
with some friends.
Not the funeral, but as he passed by. And
not the funeral. I think
we were there. You were there in a little wagon. We pulled you in a wagon.
Wow. Yeah, but but the difference between Trump and Reagan, I'm glad you brought that up, Brian, because like Reagan was like, there was something special about Reagan. Like he was, I think the big difference between Trump and Reagan is that Reagan was, like you said, Brian, he was tough, and he's like had both sides. Like he was tough, but he spoke with like love. Like you actually can see that he cared, and he was really trying to fix the country. I mean, Trump was too, but like I don't really know how to explain. He just like had like a power, like a light that was just shining. I think a lot of young people could see it. I could definitely just see it through the TV. Like he was just happy. You could see it on his face. He was just telling you how it is. He was telling you what the plans for America. And then he had that famous speech about Mr. Gorbachev tearing down that wall. He was tough, but there's just something about him, and people can see that. So
I think that's cool. We need a Reagan, or we need Trump to have, I hate to say an exorcism, but I'm not saying, but it might be more than needed, but I think Trump to be, it's one thing to come in 2016 and kind of be the bull in the china shop and kind of knock everybody down. And maybe he needed to kind of clear the way so other people can get in and so forth. but there's different roles and people have at different times. And I think that he was unfairly attacked in many, many ways. And he did a lot of great things. But I think some of that must have gotten into him because he seemed like he became kind of like a bitter guy. And now I'm not saying Trump's not the right guy, but the Trump that I have seen, at least up until the speech that he made the other night, which was a nice speech, is a guy that if you're going to be the president, you need to be the president of everybody. That includes people that didn't vote for you too. So getting in is one thing, but then also you have to be the guy who also can be elected, can get elected, but also once elected can rule over the whole country. And I think that the Trump that I've seen lately is kind of a bitter Trump. And if he could overcome that and realize that he's his own biggest enemy in a lot of ways, if he can overcome that and see that we need leadership out of that position now, and we need someone to kind of like bring the country together in a lot of ways, then he could possibly be the guy again. I know, Fabian is going to remind me again, he already did, of all the bad things that Trump did with the shot. Absolutely. I agree with you on that, Fabian, 100%. But and maybe you can't come back from that or not, but if there's a way to come back from that, everybody has the ability to come back. If you know what I mean, everyone has the ability to kind of repent, I guess you'd say. And I think that Trump needs to make a personal comeback, a spiritual comeback, if he is going to be the leader. And I don't know if he is or not, but that's just my 2 cents.
Apart from the human story, if we pull back a little bit and just look at it, okay, so we're sitting here.
Did I not use code words? Thank you, buddy. Go ahead.
Oh. We're all sitting here as individual activists.
Yes.
And some of us may have more than one person around us that we can work with, or we want to be activists. We want to get out there and make a difference. Mm-hmm. And so what do you do? How do you compartmentalize the presidential drama and Trump? And it's taken me a while because from the very beginning, I saw who he was. I knew a lot about his business background. I did not predict how he would be taken. I did not see him completely overtaking the party in a very short period of time, knocking over every other contender. And there were some people that were pretty decent at that time in terms of a presidential contender, and he knocked them all over. Yeah, he did some amazing things as president. He did some incredibly stupid things as president. And all that added together, you have to be able to step aside from that and see political reality for what it is. The political reality is, and this goes back to last time's talk with Robert, Patrick, is that Robert is the majority of the party right now. His perspective and the way he sees Trump is that, whether you see him that way or not, that is how most of them see him. And they are going to vote for him as long as he is still breathing. Well, it doesn't matter what he does wrong. It doesn't matter what he's done up till now or what he does from here on out or what he says. They will find a way around it in their own mind because they've already considered him the king.
Okay. But a lot of polls are showing DeSantis is beating Trump, right?
No, those polls are foolish. It's not true, because if you go and you actually poll, if you poll across the board, across the United States, you poll actual voters in a primary. The ideal, because we know we can pick them out. We can look at all the past primaries and we can pick out, okay, you voted 4 out of the 5 last primaries for president. And we can pick all those people out and we can call them and poll them directly. If you polled those people, most of them wouldn't even know who DeSantis is.
You're saying the kingmakers, the donors, and people like that?
No, I'm saying the voters.
No. I'm saying, but you're saying
kingmakers are different.
Yeah, you're saying those are the guys that want DeSantis. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm saying there's a lot of us that would rather, and if they're put side to side, a whole lot of us will vote for DeSantis over Trump. But regardless of that, it doesn't matter. He cannot win. He does not have the name recognition and will not gain the name recognition in the next 4 years, in the next 2 years.
I don't agree with that.
It's impossible. It's impossible, Patrick. He has name recognition. Trump is the only person with name recognition large enough to have beaten Hillary Clinton. That is why he was put in that spot. He beat her when no one else thought it was possible. It's because she had name recognition that across the world, people knew the name Hillary Clinton. Okay. Now, across the world, everyone knows the name Donald Trump, and it's associated with being a president. You can't beat a person that's already been president running in the primary in his own party when he's as popular as Trump is.
You don't think that the debates will make any difference as well?
Debates never make a major difference. Even look at the debate in Pennsylvania.
Romney screwed up in his last debate. He against
but
Obama.
That did not. I don't think that changed the end for him. I think there was a lot of things that changed things for Romney, cheating. But I do not think that made the change in the election for him. Okay. And you want to talk about cheating in voting. I think there was quite a bit happened in that election. Yes. But that's another story.
I agree.
Okay. You can't be name recognition. The reason why Trump became president is because everyone knew who he was. The reason why, if he wants to, he can win again if he's healthy enough and all those things line up. He'll win again. And if that's the case, then really the focus should be on who's going to be the VP and who are we going to put next to him to help him make the right decisions.
Do you think that Trump, as it stands right now, let's say he won and everything you say is true and he got the nomination, do you think he would be the president and would win over the Democrat?
Up until now, I saw it very difficult. I saw it as being a really tough thing because the Democrat, we've talked about this before, I think. The funny thing about stats is that so much of this stuff is predictable. If you look at all the other Democrat presidents in modern history, so Clinton got in, was extremely unpopular, so unpopular that a Republican Congress came in and completely took over in the midterms in '94. Mm-hmm. They hadn't run the House of Representatives for 40 years, and they got in. That's how unpopular Clinton was. Right. Clinton got reelected 2 years later. Same thing happened with Obama. Obama was very unpopular. Republicans sweep both houses. Mm-hmm. Obama gets in 2 years later.
Yeah, that's true.
The one thing that might save the Republicans' presidency is that the Republicans didn't do that well this time around. The fact that they barely squeak through in the House means that not everything can be hung on them when things go bad. But they'll be able to slow things down. They'll be able to slow a lot of the stuff down, but not down far enough that it's going to keep Biden or whoever takes over for Biden is going to take them from continuing to flush everything down the toilet. And if that's the case, if everything continues to be bad over the next 2 years, then I think it's a given that Trump will win.
No matter who they put in.
No matter who they put in, because there's nobody alive that has the name recognition that he has or the popularity. There's only one person. There's one person that's going to give him a run for his money, and I predict it will be the nominee, and that's Gavin Newsom.
What about Michael Obama?
Michelle?
Oh, I'm sorry. I said, Michelle Obama.
Michael. Yeah. You have like dark horse candidates like that, like Michelle, or like they say, well, what if George Clooney came out of nowhere and ran? Something like that would shake things up and cause a stir for sure. Mm-hmm. But I don't see them as being able to take over the party apparatus. Whereas Newsom it's only a matter of time before he's their candidate.
And he's the most evil character. I mean, they just have the most evil people that they put up, but they win with them sometimes. At least however they're winning, they're winning. Okay, Gerald Perry said, I'm getting a feedback. Wait, Paul,
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you. Gerald Perry was saying something that's kind of tending to agree with you as well, Brian. He said, we talked about something we said earlier. It's a gross oversimplification. Oh, wait a minute. I've got the wrong person over here. Well, I'll get his in as well. I don't even know those words. Chialism and dispensational theology. When we were talking about the need to do politics as we're looking at end days at the same time, he brought that up. I don't know what he's talking about here. So if you want to explain that, go ahead. I meant to put up Stickspace, who said, regardless, nothing less than a General Patton. We know who he refers to as General Patton. That means Trump. That's what Robert was telling me last time. General Patton, we need General Patton to just ram it through. Or the rapture are our only hopes. So I guess
go ahead. Yeah, I just find it funny. I mean, not funny, but like can't people see what's going on here? Like Brian said, like if you take a step back, like I see. We don't want to talk about. There's a preacher that we known for a while. He had this fake I can't speak what do you call it? Like when you put a false idea, like I'm acting macho or whatever. Like,
oh, okay.
Trump has that to me. Like he has that same, and we know what happened with this some people. We know what happened with this preacher. Like he gone downhill. He's like not really about it. And I see the same thing with Trump. Like he's acting manly. And look, he did great things with the country. He built the wall. He made the economy great. Everything was really good. I'm just talking about now. It's just something, I don't know if it's always been there or we just now seeing it, but something kind of like snapped a little with him.
I'm just now seeing it. Trump's always been that way.
Okay.
He's always been how he is right now. He has fewer handlers around him that can help make it appear the right way. He had some, really nasty people around him the first time around Roger Stone. If you've ever looked into Roger Stone, he's a crazy person. These people are crazy that were helping Trump win the first election, but they did a really good job of framing all of his issues and keeping him on track and everything else. He's always been this way. He is a creature. He is a machine. I wish, in my mind, I would think that someone else would be better suited for presidency. I don't see it in the cards unless something big changes.
Yeah,
I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't see anyone better at this moment. I mean, I can't really say about DeSantis because I haven't really seen a lot of them. Dad, you like DeSantis, but I do think, I don't know.
I think DeSantis would be awesome.
Okay,
and I think he has the ability to do it. He lacks some things that we don't need to get into right now, but he has every other thing, and he has the strength to be able to pull it off. The problem is that I don't think it's his time yet.
Okay. And I agree with you. And I don't necessarily agree with you. It's not his time, but you may be right. You've got a lot more political experience than me, Brian. You're backing it up with statements that are making me think. So I appreciate that. Let me put Brian's up here. He has an interesting comment. This is another Brian. He said, you want a politician to be, I guess he's talking to me or whoever, I guess any of us that likes DeSantis, a politician to be touchy-feely so he can attract simps. Well, let me challenge that, Brian, because it's not quite what I don't think I have in mind here.
No, I like it.
Okay. You do need to, or should have, the ability, I think in this day and age, it's not 2016 anymore. I think it is good to be able to pull. See, DeSantis won the state of Florida by basically a landslide, almost 20 points. He won in Miami-Dade, Florida County, which no Republican has won down there. And I dare say, I don't think Trump would have a chance in hell of winning Miami-Dade County if he was running for governor. So having the ability to, reach out or whatever and work with other people or get your message in such a way or your personality or whatever it is that is attractive to people who may not agree with you, to me is a huge plus, especially in politics. I mean, it's like
and there's so much meat on this bone. There's so many different ways you could take this.
Yeah,
this is really interesting because I mean, there's been no other politician that has attracted simps like Trump.
What does simp mean? A simpleton?
Simpleton, a person that isn't paying as close attention. Okay, I would imagine that's what Brian means.
It sounds about right. Yeah.
Okay. Trump has
done like Generation Z kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
The one thing Trump's done, I think that just amazing that all Republicans can learn from is that he speaks at, what do they say, 5th, 4th grade level.
Yeah.
That attracts more people. He's done an amazing job doing that. In fact, he's done it so well. I think a lot of those people will never turn away from him. What you have to then do is you have to be able to explain our ideas well enough in a simple manner that it will bring forth other people. It doesn't mean that you're capitulating. It means that you're and you're not reaching across the aisle necessarily.
I don't know why we have to
even what it is that we're doing.
I don't know why we even have to explain this kind of stuff. It seems so obvious.
No, but it isn't obvious. And all this stuff.
I know what they like about Trump, because he's like a truck driver who's going to have his pants, or he's going to wear, he's going to have stuff on his sleeve. He's not going to be, he's like totally real, right? He's real.
I totally see Brian's point. I totally get it.
Yeah.
You can be strong while still taking your time and explaining things. The problem is Trump does not understand how to explain freedom that well.
He doesn't. He's never been good at communicating.
He doesn't, but he's not a philosophy person. That's not his thing. He is a general. He goes in there and knocks things down.
Okay,
and that's great to have, but you do have to have somebody that knows how to explain the ideas so that people come along, so they don't just see a big monster there.
Yeah, well,
because that'll turn off a whole lot of the weak simpletons out there, and there's weak simpletons, and they're maybe not going the right direction. They're maybe got a whole thing screwed up, but they vote. And here's the other thing I just wanted to toss in there real quick, Patrick.
Yeah,
about what you said about such a high percentage winning in Florida. You have to remember what probably in most cases probably happened to create that large of a win for DeSantis. What probably happened is that they depressed the Democrat vote. For one thing, he opened up the voting clerk's offices and so forth, so that it's more transparent and it's a lot tougher to cheat in Florida now.
Yes, it is.
But he also, because all these Republicans were running and winning, and this whole idea of the red wave was coming, that is traditionally drives Democrat voters from voting, and independents from voting for Democrats.
Okay.
So it keeps fewer people from voting, and when fewer people vote, Republicans win in a landslide.
Yeah, okay, that's true, but I live here and I know that it's not only that.
Well, the numbers will tell us for sure. After all the numbers come out, you'll be able to see perfectly whether that happened or not. It's one way or the other.
Okay. I mean, I see a guy who knows how to articulate the vision. He stands up, but he doesn't alienate necessarily, or he knows. I'll tell you a good example between Trump and DeSantis. When Trump was calling Ron DeSanctimonious and saying he was an average governor and all this is before, as I went off on last week, this is before DeSantis's election, his primary. He's saying this while a guy is still in an election. And then people came and say, oh yeah, we don't want Trump. He's just kind of like, he's too out there. He just says too much stuff. He's not disciplined, which I agree with. But DeSantis, afterwards, they kept coming to him and asking him for quotes and stuff. And he never bit on the line. He never bit on the line that they were throwing in front of him, which tells me he has the ability to, where you don't take the bait. And that's a very good thing to have.
Well, you want to talk Reagan-esque, that line, anybody goes back and checks out that line that he had when they were asking him about Trump, it's very much a there you go again thing.
Right.
It's just like water off a duck's back. He handled it with so much class. I heard someone else say the only thing he could have done even better was just come out and say, I think Trump is just wonderful.
Yeah, right.
If he would have complimented him, it would have completely threw him for a loop. But other than that, he handled it.
That was on the FHU, I think.
Oh, what's yeah. This
Mike Jones.
Patrick. Patrick.
Yeah, somebody said that, which is right. So the point is, we've already had Reagan. We know what can be done. And I would say, most people would say, and I agree with them, that Trump did more than Reagan did more in 4 years. As far as getting certain things done, you might say he got more done. Of course, more is kind of a funny term, because what does that mean? I mean, if you win the Cold War, which is huge with the Russians, that one thing is worth many different things, right?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Reagan had three main things he was trying to accomplish. He was going to, if I remember correctly, this is what they were. He was going to lower the tax burden. He was going to bring back the economy, and he was going to defeat Russia. He did all three. Now he messed up on a whole bunch of the other areas. It's not intentionally mess up,
Right.
but he, because he wasn't focused as much on them, he put bad people into the Supreme Court. He did a whole bunch of things that didn't work out. He did those three things perfectly.
Yeah.
What was Trump's main mission?
Well,
everyone could say one thing, but that's all they could say. And he really didn't do that.
Well, that's what I said last week. Right. I think we're talking about the same thing. He said he's going to come and drain the swamp, which I told Robert over and over.
That wasn't the main thing.
Well,
if you went down the street and asked people, what's the one thing Trump said he was going to do?
Put Hillary in jail.
Wall.
Build a wall. Yes.
He was going to build a wall and make Mexico pay for it.
That's right. And
neither of those things occurred. Okay.
Well,
he didn't even build a fence across the whole border.
Well,
he did not get that done. He did. Now he
got most of that done
forward. He got it moved in that direction.
He did a lot. He did do a lot. And keep in mind, and I'm going to be on his side for a minute here, because they fought him every step of the way. And he had, you can't fight directly against the courts.
But that's why you don't promise a wall. It was a stupid promise, but it got things moving. It did the job, but at the same thing, it was not a smart promise. He never put out there a bill to Congress saying build a wall, because it was never a doable thing. And getting Mexico to pay for it was kind of a quirky little odd thing that he just kind of tossed in there. This was not a real promise. He didn't have a real agenda. He had very loose based concepts. And with that, he moved the ball forward in a lot of great ways, and he screwed it all up with COVID, but we could talk about that forever.
No, that's another matter. Fabian will be typing until his hands will be on fire if we bring that up. Right. I get that. And I get that. And I agree with that. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah. I agree with everything you guys are saying. I mean, and you both are making good points. So I'm like, yeah. But I just want to say, I think Trump may be the best option. I don't know, but I just want people to think for a second. Like, please don't think there's a difference between a man that's with God and a man that's being used by God. Please do not get mixed up that Trump is with God, because you're gonna jump on the train and you're gonna go down with the ship. Like America, this is what I predict he's gonna do. You're gonna vote. Let's say he gets in next time. I think he'll probably make America great again. Or he'll make it physically good and stuff. And we're gonna be like, yeah. And then watch what happens after that. Like probably not too long after that. People's morale, we've already saw it this time. The attitude actually has gotten worse with Trump. I'm not trying to keep bashing Trump, but I'm just saying, I just want people to think about it. When he was in last time, 2016, and for 4 years, the people really didn't get any better. I know politicians are not really supposed to do that, but
it can help.
What's that? You look at a man and you can see his follower,
look at the followers, you can see the man, or vice versa.
We'd all like the president to be a moral leader, and to not just lead us politically, but to be kind of a figure of a higher purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I completely agree with that. But that Bible says that God uses the foolish to confound the wise, and it happens over and over and over again that we have really odd answers to prayers, especially in the field of politics and our leaders and so forth. We get tossed people in front of us that it's clear that they're at the right place at the right time. Having George W. Bush as the president during 9/11, I remember when that happened, I went into work and all the liberals telling me, he's probably the right guy for the job. It's probably good that he got in versus Gore. Because they were scared to death back then. And that was the feeling everyone had. But at the same time, it didn't make him less of a goober. He had a horrible time. He didn't have a very easy time explaining conservatism because he didn't believe in conservatism. I knew people that worked with him. He's not a conservative.
We had to fight him because he was going to put amnesty in.
And there was a million things that we fought him on. And there were a million things that not a million things, but there was a lot of things that he did right. And he was the right man for the job at that time. Trump was the right man for the job for at least 3 years of his presidency, I would say.
Well,
And he,
let me
whoever is going to be the person is going to be the person. And when the primary comes, I will be for anybody that has a DeSantis or anyone else. And I'll come on here or go anywhere and defend them and say you should vote for them. I don't think it's possible to beat Trump at his current rate.
Well, we're gonna, okay, fair enough. We're gonna wind up. I want to say this because I said this before, and Paul knows I've said this. When Trump was in, America was being made great in many ways. But I watched and I commented on this, and this goes back to the title of the show. Can Republicans win in today's culture? When Trump was in, gas prices were low and you could say all these great things were happening, and they were great. Believe me, I would take those in a heartbeat over today. But the culture was continuing to slide, right? The culture was continuing to slide. And that's partially a reflection of the president. Well, I'm sorry, but it is to some degree, maybe a lot of a degree. But our culture was going down. And I said, you know what? Even if Trump won re-election, we would have set ourselves up probably for a fall anyway, and the Democrats would have retaken. Because if the culture slides, that's why one of the reasons I brought you on tonight too, as well, Paul, because of Gen Z and the culture. If the culture slides, and Gen Z has a lot of things probably right, but they have a lot of things wrong too, right? Gay marriage, trans stuff. It's okay to chop off the sex organs of a kid, weed, et cetera, et cetera. If we don't change the culture, and it's really probably one of the main reasons I do the show, it's not just politics. I'm talking about politics and culture, the intersection of it. If we don't change the culture, then it doesn't matter who you put in. We could talk about whoever. They're not going to get in anyway at some point, because the people will vote into Gavin Newsom at some point. The most evil guy they can find will get voted in. And I don't care if they cheat or don't cheat. They probably don't even, at a certain point, they don't even need to cheat at all if the culture is ruined enough. And I'm very concerned that we're keep moving towards that direction.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing, I agree with that. And I just want to say about, I guess it feels weird saying my people, but like my generation. Generation. We do, I see a lot of us, we do actually want to do good. And I know we get like kind of like you call it ragged on, like saying we're like betas, all these things. And yeah, there's a lot of betas, but also we actually do, I do see people that we do actually want to do good, but like we watch a lot of media that leans a certain way, and we think like, oh, like for instance, abortion, like, oh, they think it's like somehow like freedom. They like you can have this, like you want freedom, you can have it. It's your body, it's not the baby's. Like things get twisted, so they genuinely do want to do good. And I just want to say that because we get bashed a lot, but it's not entirely their fault because they just get pushed in a certain direction. But at the same time, there has been a lot of death that's been pushed on us. Like if you look around schools, a lot of like kids will wear like skulls on their shirt, or it's cool to like talk about depression and to be depressed. So there's kind of like a mixture of like actually, going the wrong direction and then getting tricked into thinking you're doing the right things. I just want to put that out there. There's there's things going on that it's not entirely their fault. Anyway.
Amen. I want to bring, I'm going to say something.
Just one thing. We do, obviously, not to say we actually do have to take accountability. I'm just saying there's things going on that you may not have considered. People just letting them know. Yeah.
Good. I want to this is a great quote from Brian, because it's really telling. And I want to deal with this quote, and you can jump in on this too, guys. And Brian, you might want to say something here. This is another Brian. Debasing Trump is helping the enemy, Well, I would say at first that Trump debased himself. We're just commenting on what's going on, what everybody can see. I don't think it's pretty obvious. This is not hidden stuff. This is stuff everything with Trump is out in the open anyway. Trump will be the Republican candidate. Be careful. I understand that in a certain kind of strategic way, but I also understand that if Trump doesn't get change, it kind of like, as you said earlier, Paul, like God used Trump, but Trump is not necessarily in with God. And people might not like me saying that, but if Trump needs to repent of some of the things that he's done. Some of the the shot stuff is inexcusable. He needs to come clean with that, and some other things as well, but primarily stuff like that. And then going after his own party and stuff like that during an election. He's obviously doing stuff that's clearly out of kilter. And if he doesn't get things right, we do need a moral leader. If we are going to survive as a people, as bad as things are now, if we're going to survive as a nation, it would really help to have a moral president, or at least somebody who is, has some humility about themselves, because that is part of our survival. You can't separate that and just say, okay, we want a strong man in here who doesn't really have conscience about certain things. God is not going to be pleased with that. We're not going to survive as a country. So what I'm trying to do is say, hey, as I said earlier, if Trump wants to come back and he wants to come clean, he wants to repent for some of the stuff he's done, great. I love a lot of stuff that Trump did. But if he's going to go the way he's been going as of late, I don't see a good ending there, even if he does get in. So that's the way I see it. He may be the candidate. He may be the person that gets in. But I think he needs to have a change there. Anyway, what do you guys have any comments on that?
Yeah, I just want to say one thing real quick. If I could just say one real quick. Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. That I 100%. And actually, I just forgot what I was going to say. You can go, Brian. I forgot. I literally just went out of my head.
And guys, we are going to wind up soon. So
I think we are gonna really hurt our head slamming it against the wall, waiting for Trump to change. I don't see it happening. If it does, fabulous. Anything's possible, right? Where's God's concerned and so forth, anything's possible. But we need to focus elsewhere. I don't think DeSantis is going to run against him. I don't think he's going to have any real competition. I'd put money down. If I were a gambling man, I'd put money down saying that no one serious is going to run against him during the primary.
Why wouldn't they? Would that hurt?
Because there's no way to beat him. Anybody that knows real pollsters can go out and test this stuff. There is no way to beat him if he runs.
That's a very strong statement.
When I hear
people say no way, there's always
he
a
ran
way.
against. He ran against. You remember how many Republican candidates he ran against? The top of the field. Every best conservative we had at the time was there. Cruz was on fire. He had more. He was more popular than any other Republican senator in my lifetime, as far as a conservative goes.
Yeah.
And he got hammered in terms of actual votes. He got hardly anything in comparison to Trump. And there was a point at which where they were pretty much head to head, and it didn't go anywhere. He lambasted each one of them fairly and unfairly. He said some of the craziest, most absurd, insane things during that election. He hasn't said anything up until now that even comes close to what he did 4 years ago. Or excuse me, 2 years.
Well, that was during a primary. That was during a primary.
It was during a primary, but that's what we're talking about. We're in primary.
Now we weren't before, and he was going.
No, well, he calls his own shots in terms of the calendar. So he decided it was a primary, and so he was doing everything he could to dissuade DeSantis. It's not going to go anywhere. I think us waiting for him to change it's not useful. If he changes, fabulous.
Well,
we have to focus on everything we can control. We can't control Trump. We can't control the national election. We just don't have the power to do that at this time. We could all speak our mind and everything else, but there's certain things you have real close control of. And it's everything that's local, and it's everything that you can you can reach out and touch, and we can make a huge difference. Each one of us here can.
Yes, we can. And that being said, Brian Pombo, here he is, because we're going to be leaving soon. Brian Pombo, boldactionnetwork.com to find out more about what he's doing. He's working in Grants Pass, Oregon area. He's head of the Conservative Action Forum there. And he knows politics. And I agree with you 100% as far as the county. I don't know if I agree with you on all the stuff you're saying about, you may be totally right about what you're saying about Trump. You have more experience than I do in politics, but you may be right about that. But I know you're right about dealing specifically and starting with our counties. And I'm doing the same thing. What little amount I can do, I try to support the core group here in my county, Santa Rosa, Florida, Citizens Organized to Restore Ethics. And they've done some great things in the county. We didn't win everything that we're trying to do, but they made some great strides. Paul, did you want to say something as well? You were.
Oh, I was just pointing up at Brian because of the logo.
Brian. Let me point at Brian. But anyway, thank you, Brian, for coming on. You said a lot of great stuff. Got people at least thinking. And I know
sorry for dominating the conversation. I had a little bit of coffee and I'm just a little wound up.
No, it's good. I wanted you to come on and talk a lot, and I like to have people on, obviously, who don't always agree with me either, and about everything. And all you guys that came in on the chat, I want to thank you guys too, because you're bringing something in. And if you end up being right or you are right, that's fine, because it really should be about not who is right, but what is right. So if you guys are saying the truth, or maybe there's a mixture of the truth going on, it sounds like to me. And I think if we're objective enough, and that gets back to our prayer, meditation and prayer, and becoming more objective and listening to what God is saying to us as much as we can, because really that's all that matters. I mean, if we can listen to what he's saying and what he's telling us to do, when he does, he's not always talking to us, but where he moves us, if we can listen for that, then we're going to be a lot better off. So let's see what Fabian's. Am I going to put in a Fabian thing at the end?
No, go ahead.
You're going to owe me a tip or something. No, don't do that. I ain't begging for money, please. Brian talks like he knows that he's going to win and run, and he doesn't know that's ego.
No, I have no idea what's going to happen. I keep trying to couch this. I'm saying that if it happens the way it looks like it's going to happen, that's what's going to happen. If nothing else changes, I don't see how it will maneuver out of this. There's always something. I didn't think Trump was going to win 6 years ago. I would have bet money he was not going to win the primary, let alone win the general. I was shocked. I still have a picture up on social media of me like with a shocked face when he won. I was blown away. I have no idea, because God always throws in wrenches and takes things where you don't know it's going to go. But do I have a big ego? Absolutely, I do, Fabian.
But one thing you are right about, I don't know if you're right completely to the point of no chance for anyone else, but I know that you're right about name recognition is huge. When Arnold Schwarzenegger ran for governor of California, he didn't have any experience except he was a Terminator. That was it, right? I sound like I was doing that with a Brooklyn accent. Sorry, I'm not good at. Paul's much better at. Do that again, Paul.
Terminator. No, I wasn't. Never mind. I said Terminator.
Yeah. So he was a Terminator, and that's all we knew about him, and a bodybuilder.
Yep.
And he won easily over candidates that were much better. Tom McClintock ran against him, who was much better policy-wise. A great guy, actually. Great on policy. Very smart man. Brilliant guy. And I think
he should have been governor that time.
He should have been governor, but we've stupidly put in the guy that we knew the most. It's like who's the most popular person at any given time if they do these polls. And the most popular person is usually also the most unpopular person too.
That's right.
You know, like Michelle Obama is super popular, but she's also very unpopular.
Michael,
you said it. Well, so I understand that, and you may very well be right. We will see what happens. We will see if God used Trump. this last time. He used him.
Absolutely.
Is he still using him? Not on everything, because Trump went rogue on some stuff. Who God wants to be in there or allows to be in there is going to be what's going to happen. So we'll see what happens. We'll do whatever we can locally, mostly, but we'll do whatever we can on national way. If you guys want to see more shows that deal with politics, let me know. Old school is always about natural health, success, and freedom. Freedom is one of those things, and culture is a big part of that. So, culture is something I like to talk about a lot, because we have to win back the culture if we have want to have a chance in America or worldwide as well. So thank you, Brian, for being with us today. Thanks, Paul, for being with us. It's been too long since Paul's been in. I think you really were a good addition to the show as well.
Thank you. I was just listening this time. You guys pretty much covered all of it, but so yeah.
Well, thank you for everybody in the chat as well. So you guys always bring great stuff in as well. So that is it for
actually
tonight.
There is one thing. Sorry, just touch one thing. I just saw Brian made a comment. It was just kind of funny. He said Gen Z, appropriate name. They are so lost they will probably be the last American generation. That's funny, but as funny and sad as that is, I actually do there is hope for us. Yeah. There are a few maybe quite a few conservatives too. I'm one of them. But I know he's talking about like the liberals and the ones that, fallen. But I actually do think there's hope for them. I actually believe that if the culture gets changed around and, they see, the media will change, hopefully, if it does, God willing, or you, Brian, we make our own media or something. If they'll see that, I think there is possibility. So, yeah.
I certainly hope you're right, from your lips to God's ears, as they say. Oldschoolus.com for, as I said, natural health, success, and freedom. If you want to get involved, go over there and look at the blog and the stuff. I was out for a long time, as some of you know. I was sick for a while. I got hit with something very hard, which is like a food poisoning. And I was out of the picture for a couple months. That's why some of you guys haven't seen me. But I never quit for good, because I'm in this thing for the long haul. I believe in God as best I can. I believe in this country, our nation, and I'm not going to just let it go without as good a fight as I can give it. I know Brian and a lot of us feel the same way. Paul, I know you feel the same way as well. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can send me an email to info@oldschoolus.com, info@oldschoolus.com. Thanks again, everybody, and see you next week.